composed letters and scrolls to the churches that he had established. These epistles are collected in the Bible today as part of the New Testament. Christians read them still as inspired and reliable words of instruction on how to know and live for God. So Paul was traveling through all these different areas. Rome was one of them. He started a church there, and he continued his travels. He started a church at many different places, and he would, afterwards he would hear things going on there, and he would send letters to these churches. Now, it wasn't like he could text message or mail, and he's in Jerusalem when he mails this, or he sends this to Rome. So we're talking crossing 2 seas. So the way they did it back then was they would get somebody to say, Lisa, please go to Rome and give the church this letter. So we're talking like months of travels to get this letter to where he needed to get it to. So it was pretty crazy back then how they communicated. But that was how they communicated through scrolls and letters. Now, I'm going to start in Romans 12. The reason I picked Romans 12, I got a text message from Pastor last night. Me and Lisa were in the movies, and he said I need you to preach on Romans. You pick whichever one you want. So when I got home, I opened up my Bible, and Romans 12 was like 90% highlighted, the whole thing. So I go, that has to be the one to preach on, so that's what I'm doing. So it's really good. There's a lot in Romans 12. And we start verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. Beseech. Does anybody know what beseech means? To beg eagerly is basically what I looked it up, and that's the definition. And if you notice, it's kind of an urgency. And a lot of the letters Paul writes, it's urgency because things are happening, and just like today in our lives, us following Jesus the right way isn't an urgency because we have no idea when Jesus is coming back. So it's important that we remember that it's an urgency for us to follow him and to lead others to him. So it goes on to say, and do not be comforted of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Now, how many people know what the will of God is for their lives right now? And I think some of us do. I have a story. Me and Lisa were going to a different church. I might have told the story before, but I'm going to tell it again. We were going to Seaside Church, and we were in service one day, and in the beginning announcements are like, today at 5 o'clock over at Pastor Graham's house, you can go there and you can learn what God's will in your life is. So me and Lisa were like, wow, we need to go find out what our will. We're kind of new believers. We need to go find out what our will is because we want to do that, So we go there. I thought it was going to be a group of people. It was just me and Lisa. We go in, and he starts asking us what we're about, what we're doing, And at the time, Lisa was, kind of ministering to some ladies who gone through what she's gone through with, single mothers. And at the time, I was like coaching a lot then, and we were telling him what we did in our pastime. And he goes, well, it sounds to me like you guys are doing God's will. And that was it, And I'm like, wait a minute. I want more. I want to know, come on, what's my next step? The bottom line, and pretty much in Romans 12, the first paragraph tells you what God's will is in your life. It says, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies in living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. That's God's will in our life, for the most part. So now, we go on to read chapter 3, serve God with spiritual gifts. For I say, through the grace given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly as God has dealt to each one measure of our faith. So right there it tells us that we are not to think more highly of ourselves than anybody. It doesn't say than people in your church, than any believer, it says anybody. So, I mean, that's hard for us. I mean, in the world, it's hard enough. I mean, you know, we walk around like we're it, you know. You know, back when I was out in the world partying and stuff, and funny, Brian kind of mentioned something to me this morning, kind of like, you know, I thought I was a pretty cool guy. I thought I was like, you know, punk guy, and I thought I was cool. And then Brian made a comment to me, he goes, hey, everyone kind of thought you was like a drunk guy, huh? And I'm like, yeah, kind of, pretty much. That was what I was, you know what I mean? But I thought I was like this cool kid. Basically, I was like a drunkard, just like pissing people off most of the time, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you got to be careful on how you see yourself, you know what I mean? And as Christians, it's hard. As Christians, we have the same kind of pride issues going where, you know, we're at work or whatever, and we think, you know, that this guy needs Jesus, you know, and you start like judging people and feeling superior to people because you know something that they don't. Is this thing even working?
Yeah. Got to hold it real close.
Hello?
There you go.
You can hear, everyone can hear me all right, right?
Yeah.
I'm not even using it. Okay, so anyways, you know, we just got to be careful as Christians, not to think ourselves as better, but to take a low place and be humble.